TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel ramps up its operational counter-terror activities in the West Bank as tensions escalate. Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid sparks turbulent reactions across Israel after proclaiming his support for a two-state solution at the United Nations General Assembly. Iran threatens Israel and its partners against targeting the Islamic Republic's nuclear installations. Israel continues to ramp up its operational activity against terror elements in the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria, with chief focus on the northern Palestinian towns of Nablus and Jenin. As part of Operation Wavebreaker, IDF, ISA or Shin Bet, and Border Police Special Operations Forces conducted counterterrorism activity overnight, at the culmination of which 9 terror suspects were successfully apprehended. Meanwhile, Palestinian terror attacks against Israeli civilian targets is reportedly on the rise. 2 shooting attacks toward Israeli civilian communities in the Samaria Regional Council have been recorded, and while damage was caused to property, thankfully, no injuries were reported. Subsequently, after a vigorous manhunt, Israeli security forces apprehended the 4 terrorists who are suspected of perpetrating the reported attacks. Separately, 8 Israeli civilians sustained light injuries in a stabbing attack last night at the Shilat Junction near the central city of Modi'in.
במהלך הפיגוע הוא מנסה לדקור מספר אזרחים שנוסעים כאן על הציר ומגיעים לצומת ועוצרים. הוא מנסה לפתוח מספר כלי רכב כאשר בידו סכין וגז מדמיע. שוטר מג"ב ירושלים שהיה בדרכו מכיוון השפלה לכיוון ירושלים, מזהה את המחבל, עוצר את הרכב. המחבל בשלב הזה מנסה לדקור את בת זוגתו. השוטר יוצא מן הרכב, מייצר מגע עם המחבל, דורך את הנשק, יורה מספר כדורים ולמעשה מנטרל את המחבל.
It is important to know that the terrorist was identified as a 23-year-old resident of the village of Atul in East Jerusalem. Separately, the IDF spokesperson's unit confirmed in a statement that an IDF soldier sustained light injuries and was evacuated to hospital after a suspected terrorist rammed his vehicle into a group of Israeli troops conducting routine activity adjacent to the Palestinian town of Hawara last night. In response, the IDF forces opened fire at the vehicle and neutralized the assailant. Nevertheless, the suspect, who apparently did not sustain injuries, was apprehended and transferred to security forces for further questioning. Meanwhile, Israeli officials are preparing for continued security-related tension during the Jewish high holidays and until the country's national election, which is set to take place in about a month and a half. Security establishment officials are concerned, inter alia, that terrorist groups will attempt to commit terror attacks close to Israel's national election day, as was the case in previous rounds. Moreover, security establishment officials have recently been working to locate social media reports about the Temple Mount in particular to fight against so-called fake news that is liable to motivate Palestinians to commit acts of terror. Turning to New York City, from which Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid sparked turbulent reactions across Israel's political arena after he proclaimed in his address to the United Nations General Assembly that a so-called two-state solution for the Israel-Palestinian conflict is the right thing for Israel's security, economy, and the future of its children.
Israel's economic and military strength allows us to protect ourselves, but it also allows us something else: to strive for peace with the entire Arab world and with our closest neighbors, the Palestinians. An agreement with the Palestinians based on the 2 states for 2 people is the right thing for Israel's security, for Israel's economy, and for the future of our children. Peace is not a compromise. It is the most courageous decision we can make. Peace is not weakness. It embodies within it the entire might of human spirit. War is a surrender to all that is bad within us. Peace is the victory of all that is good. Despite all the obstacles, still today, a large majority of Israelis support the vision of the two-state solution. I am one of them. We have only one condition: that the future Palestinian state will be a peaceful one, that it will not become another terror base from which to threaten the well-being and the very existence of Israel.
The main rebuke against Lapid's remark came from former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who denounced the Israeli transitional premier's speech as an expression of complete weakness that served to reverse what Netanyahu described as one of his primary achievements, namely removing the Palestinian issue from the list of major topics in international politics. Meanwhile, Lapid also addressed in his speech to the UNGA plenum the dangers emanating from the Islamic Republic of Iran, which proactively sows discord throughout the Middle East and beyond.
There is only one member state in the UN that openly states it wished to destroy another member state. Iran has declared time and time again that it is interested in the total destruction of the state of Israel. And this building is silent. What are you afraid of? Has there ever been a time in human history where silence stopped violence? The country that wants to destroy us is also the country that founded the largest terrorist organization in the world, Hezbollah. Iran funds Hamas and Islamic Jihad, and it is behind mass terrorist attacks from Bulgaria to Buenos Aires. It is a murderous dictatorship that is making every effort to get a nuclear weapon. If the Iranian regime gets a nuclear weapon, they will use it. The only way to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is to put a credible military threat on the table. And then, and only then, to negotiate a longer and stronger deal with them. It needs to be made clear to Iran that if it advances its nuclear program, the world will not respond with words, but with military force. Every time a threat like that was put on the table in the past, Iran stopped and retreated. Today, the world is choosing the easy option. It chooses not to believe the worst, despite all the evidence to the contrary. Israel does not have this privilege.
In contrast to past history in which Jews were defenseless in the face of violent threats which turned into acts of blatant aggression, the Jewish state does not intend to stand idly by.
This time, we are not standing empty-handed against those who want to destroy us. The Jews today have a state. We have an army. We have great friendships, first and foremost with the United States. We have capabilities, and we are not afraid to use them. We will do whatever it takes. Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. We will not stand by while there are those who try to kill us. Not again. Never again.
It is important to know that while Iran continues to reject a revival of the 2015 nuclear agreement unless a political decision is made to close the IAEA probes into nuclear particles that were uncovered in undeclared sites in Iran, the P5+1, alongside the EU as coordinator, are apparently exhausting every option to find a way forward for the purpose of adopting the European Union's draft proposal.
There have been 2 rounds of remarks, mainly from the Iranian and US partners, after which it was obvious that instead of converging, the positions are actually diverging, and now the efforts are being done by all the participants and the coordinator and his team to bring these positions back and find a consensus on the proposal which is on the table, because as High Representative said also early this morning in New York, there will be no other proposal.
It is important to highlight that while prospects for diplomatic breakthrough for the purpose of curbing Iran's nuclear program is diminishing by the day, the Ayatollah regime's military establishment has seemingly ratcheted up its rhetoric against the West in general and Israel in particular, including during a military parade commemorating the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s.
با قاطعیت هم با عناصر رژیم صهیونیستی و هم با حامیان آنها به طور توأم مقابله و برخورد خواهیم کرد.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. TV7 Israel is a donation-based ministry. Therefore, if you're blessed by productions, please consider making a financial contribution that in turn will enable us to sustain our ongoing operations here in Jerusalem. Additionally, I would like to encourage you, pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shana Tova and a Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you again on Monday at the same time.